Hey, welcome back to Agile Espresso. This is a new season with Michael Kusters. He's a creator of Top Structure, and we're going to discuss a few things about this model. Stay tuned.
About the roles that you've mentioned there. Okay, the Scrum guide gives us like three roles. But what I saw on top structures, we got like five roles there. Why more roles? Are you trying to introduce more complexity? What's going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I know that that is also one of the questions that is typical from Scrum folks when addressing SAFe to say you're just making more roles, that is corporate kind of thing. Now, the first thing that you always have to understand when we're talking about the top structure is that I'm not telling you you must have different people doing different things so that we involve a lot of people. That is not the point. When I'm talking about a role in the top structure, what I'm really talking about is creating transparency on what the different perspectives within an organization are. I mean, in Scrum, you have the product owner. What's their responsibility? Everything related to
Yeah.
product. So if I have a good product owner, they're thinking product, 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 product. And that's totally valid. And that's what we actually want our product owner to do. So you have a Scrum Master. What should the Scrum Master be thinking about? How do I grow my people? How do I grow my team? How do I make them successful? What do they need so that they can achieve their sprint goals? What can we do so that they can achieve the product goals? That is what I would like the Scrum Master to think about. People. How do people work? How they communicate? And so on. And the developer role in Scrum. What are they responsible for? They should be thinking
Yeah.
about how do we turn a product request into a product solution? How do we make this stuff happen? That is their responsibility. It doesn't even matter whether we're talking software products, hardware products, or organizational solution. The developers in Scrum, they are always responsible to how do we make this happen. Now, in the software context, what they're typically thinking about, which kind of code do we create? But there's more that we need to think about. We could look at DevOps. What's DevOps about? Integrating not only the creation of the product, but also its operation and its life cycle.
Yeah.
So those are the techies. And usually the first thing that happens is that those three people, the product owner, the scrum master, and the techies, they have different perspectives on those things. And any topic we're talking about, and all perspectives are valid because everybody's trying to do the best they can.
True,
So we
very
have
true.
three
Yeah.
roles that totally make sense in a scrum context, and in top context, I'm calling this the product responsible person, or the product member, the organizational member, and the technology member of a top coalition. I'll get into the coalition later. And then we get into a different problem. Now, what we see very often in an agile context is a kind of a conflict between management and the teams.
Typical.
And
Yes.
where does this conflict come from? In my opinion, it's because we are not talking properly with each other. We're still keeping a separating boundary. It doesn't matter whether this boundary is created by management or by the team. The fact is, it's there, it's blocking communication, and it leads to conflict. And very often, it leads to a kind of us versus them. So,
Yeah.
what's the
And
easiest way to get beyond us versus them? Make them us.
that's really good. Yes. So, but this is again boils down to culture, right? So what you're saying is the the culture of the organization.
Yes. So the top structure, it doesn't tell you what your culture has to be, and it doesn't even matter. The key thing is that we need to get closer to one another if we would like to arrive at a global optimum. And we cannot afford us versus them games. We need to find something that works for everybody, however we do that. And so what we are doing is, if we see something where as a team we would like to achieve something and it requires changes that go beyond the horizon of the team, we should also be involving people from outside the team who have some kind of a stake in this change. And as soon as it's a broader organizational context, it will either affect other teams as well or even wider areas of the organization. Now, Scrum has no mechanism of how do we address that. It doesn't mean we can't do it in a retrospective, but the team can't decide for others what others need to do. So the idea of the top structure is as soon as we're going beyond the team boundaries, which we should be doing if we would like to create a better organizational culture and not just a better team, then we need to have some way to give management a stake in the change. And that's why I say I create this role, the top sponsor. That is a person from management who says, whatever change you are trying to do at this moment, I'm willing to support you. I'm willing to work with you to not only find the best solution, but also to make this best solution happen. That can mean anything in context. It could mean that I, as a manager, will go and talk with other managers. I, as a manager, will go and invite other teams, or I, as a manager, give you whatever support you need and I'll stay back. It doesn't matter. The key thing is that suddenly management is not them, but it's us in this kind of change. So that is the fourth role, and it's only logical. I mean, if your entire organization is just one team of 8 people, you do not need the sponsor. The sponsor will be in the team. It will be your product owner, probably. But as soon as it gets bigger, it might be a different person. And the last role that I have created is a top facilitator. Because you see, the Scrum Master is a great facilitator if they've had some training and experience in this context. But if they pursue a specific vested interest in this change, I would like to achieve this. Can you be a facilitator and have a vested interest? How does that turn out in your experience?
That's fantastic. No, that's really good. Actually, that's what a Scrum Master should do, right? So he needs to be a good facilitator to be a good Scrum Master.
Yes. So the Scrum Master can do it, but if the Scrum Master wants to change the organizational system, they cannot be the facilitator anymore. So is this top facilitator someone in addition to the Agile coach or the Scrum Master? Probably not. It might be Scrum Master from a different team. It could be that the Scrum Master goes to one of the developers and says, guys, now I've got a vested interest and need somebody who's neutral. It can be anyone. The key is that the person who wants to achieve something and the person who facilitates should be different.
Be different, yeah. So bring somebody else from another team or get someone else, right? So that's what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
cool. So what I can see is you've got technology, you've got organization, you've got product, and then you've got the sharing entity is your top sponsor, and the person facilitating is called the top facilitator. Fantastic.
Yes.
Those are the 5 roles as well. So the different roles that you have is the facilitator, sponsor, and then you've got some member, technical member, the product member, and the organizational member.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit? Can you just explain a little bit more about the difference between a product member and a technical member? Who is a technical member? Are you saying they are the developers or the technical members in the structure?
If we're talking about a pure Scrum context, then that would be the translation in this case. Now, you might have any organization with a top structure. I'm not saying you must use Scrum. I'm just using it as an example. I mean, even if you have a massive siloed organization where you have analysts, designers, developers, testers, operations, and sysadmins, you would have a lot of different perspectives, all from the technical area. And some are closer to pure technology and some are closer to the product already. Now, what would happen in such a large silo organization if you want to make any change? Suddenly you need 50 people in the meeting room just so to capture all perspectives. But usually whatever subject you are talking about has a specific focus. It could be that we are talking more about, for example, the way that we're creating code. Would we like to introduce clean code practices or whatever? So who's going to have a stake in the clean code practice? Is that an ops problem? No. Is it an admin problem? No. So you need to work at least a little bit with architecture, with development,
Yeah.
and probably also with test in order to get closer to clean code. But that is a very specific technical context. And this one again could mean that you might be having a lot of change activities. But when you're asking this very simple question, we need some capacity for this. How much does it affect our product delivery strategy? You do not need 20 people in the room. You only need one person who says, this is what we would like to achieve technically, and this is how much effort we believe it is, and this is the amount of time which we would want to use to make some changes, and then negotiate with the product member whether that makes sense, how we can do it, and how we can make sure that we are not just wasting energy but actually getting somewhere. So the top coalition is a really small group of people
Yeah.
that just make sure we capture the key perspectives, and then you work with the people who are closer to you for the details.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mikhail. And that's the end of Agile Espresso. Stay tuned for the next session. Thank you. Thanks, Mikhail.